There's a woman I want to tell you about. She's 67, and she went to her doctor with 6 different complaints. Knee pain woke her up at night. Ankles so swollen by evening she couldn't get her shoes back on. A kind of mental fog that made her feel like she was thinking through wet cotton. And something else. Something she was too embarrassed to describe in detail. The doctor ran the standard tests. Everything came back in the normal range. He sat across from her and said, "Sincerely, you're 67. These things happen." She left with 3 referrals and the quiet feeling that nobody was actually going to help her. What her doctor didn't tell her, what most doctors genuinely don't put together in a 15-minute appointment, is that all 6 of those problems share one invisible root. Address that root and things start changing. One by one, not overnight, but consistently in ways that are actually measurable. This video is about that root, and it's about 2 things, 2 plants, 2 oils, that research shows can address not 6 but 18 different health problems after 60. 18. I know that sounds like a lot. Stay with me, because I'm going to walk through every single one today, and I want to start with the one nobody talks about. If you've been dealing with this quietly, you deserve to know there's real science behind what you can do about it. We're counting down, starting at number 18. About 50% of people over 50 will deal with hemorrhoids at some point in their lives. Half. This is not a rare condition. It's one of the most common things that happens to human bodies after decades of use, and one of the least talked about. So what are they, really? Hemorrhoids are swollen, inflamed veins in the rectal tissue. They're a vascular problem, not that different, mechanically, from varicose veins in your legs. Weakened vein walls, poor blood flow through the area, and pressure from straining. Now here's what the research actually says. A clinical study published in 2022, double-blind, placebo-controlled, tested a topical preparation containing Nigella sativa on hemorrhoidal tissue. The results were specific. It inhibited the inflammatory process in those tissues in a dose-dependent way, and it produced a 40% vasoconstriction effect compared to a pharmaceutical standard, meaning it helped the swollen blood vessels tighten and contract. And from the Moringa side, Moringa leaves have a documented gentle laxative effect. Why does that matter? Because the number 1 mechanical cause of hemorrhoids is straining during bowel movements. If you remove the strain, you remove the pressure on those veins. You're hitting the problem from 2 directions at once, the inflammation from outside and the cause from inside. Most people accept joint stiffness as just aging. I understand why. When every doctor tells you the same thing, you start to believe it. But the research tells a different story. A crossover clinical trial. 40 elderly patients, average age 75. Knee osteoarthritis. Researchers split them into 2 groups. One group applied 1 milliliter of black seed oil to their knee joints, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. The other group took acetaminophen, Tylenol on the same schedule. After 3 weeks, both groups experienced pain reduction, but the oil group reported significantly greater relief than the drug group. Let me say that again clearly. An oil applied topically outperformed a pharmaceutical painkiller in elderly patients in a controlled trial. That's not anecdote. That's a published study. A compound in black seed oil called thymoquinone, and I know that's a mouthful, but it's worth knowing, blocks inflammatory signals at the cellular level, not the way most painkillers work, which is basically muting your pain receptors. This interrupts the molecules, things called TNF-alpha and prostaglandins, that tell your joint tissue to stay swollen and angry. It goes upstream. Moringa adds its own anti-arthritic layer. A 2021 study specifically on Moringa seed oil in an arthritis model showed significant reduction in the same inflammatory joint markers. 2 plants, 2 different pathways, same fire put out faster. And number 16, this one operates completely silently. Most people don't realize it's happening. Here's a fact about aging that almost nobody tells you. Your kidneys lose roughly 1% of filtering efficiency per year after age 40. By 60, many people are operating with kidneys functioning at 75% or less of their original capacity. No symptoms in the early stages. No pain, just a quiet, slow accumulation of metabolic waste that the kidneys can no longer process as efficiently as they once did. Moringa contains a class of compounds called isothiocyanates. They activate something called phase 2 detoxification enzymes, essentially the body's internal filtration team. Multiple studies have documented Moringa's nephroprotective effects. Thymoquinone from black seed oil has been studied in kidney tissue specifically, reducing oxidative damage to renal cells and lowering inflammatory markers in kidney tissue across multiple animal models. But here's something important, and I want to say this clearly because it matters. There's a boundary. Research has specifically documented that going above 2 grams of black seed oil daily can stress the kidneys rather than support them. So this is not about taking more, this is about taking a precise, small, consistent amount. I'll come back to exactly how much and when later in this video. This next one surprised me, not because gum disease isn't a serious problem, it is, but because of what it connects to. Studies have found that people with chronic gum inflammation have a 20 to 30% higher risk of cardiovascular events. Your mouth is not isolated from your body. The bacteria living in inflamed gum tissue enter the bloodstream. They drive systemic inflammation. They contribute to arterial plaque buildup, and most people over 60 are walking around with some degree of chronic gum inflammation without knowing it's doing damage elsewhere. Moringa contains a compound called petrigospermin, a natural antibiotic active against several bacterial strains that specifically colonize gum tissue. This has been documented in research for decades. Black seed oil's antimicrobial properties were confirmed in a 2022 study, showing significant inhibitoria that are among the primary drivers of oral infection. Think about it this way. Every morning when you take this mixture, you're sending both an antibacterial compound and a potent anti-inflammatory directly through the first tissue it touches. Your mouth and gum tissue get first contact before anything else does. Number 14, you might actually be able to see this one right now. If you look at your legs, that heavy, tired feeling in your legs by late afternoon, the visible, twisted lines under the skin, the ankles that slowly balloon through the day, this is your venous system telling you something. Blood in your veins has to travel upward against gravity. When vein walls weaken, which happens with age, with prolonged sitting, with inflammation, blood pools, pressure builds, fluid leaks into the surrounding tissue. A comprehensive review published in 2025 on natural treatments for venous disease confirmed that Nigella sativa improves microcirculation and strengthens vascular wall integrity. The flavonoids in Moringa, specifically quercetin and rutin, work through a mechanism almost identical to certain pharmaceutical venotonics. They reduce vascular permeability. Less fluid is leaking out, less swelling, less heaviness. And the application method matters here more than people realize. When you use this combination topically, massaging upward from the foot toward the heart, you're mechanically helping venous blood move in the right direction, while the compounds work on the vessel walls from outside. A meta-analysis published in 2025, synthesizing data from multiple randomized controlled trials on Moringa, found statistically significant reductions in fasting blood sugar across the included studies. The mechanism is actually quite specific. Moringa contains quercetin and chlorogenic acid, compounds that act as competitive inhibitors of glucose transporters in the small intestine. They slow down how quickly sugar enters your bloodstream after eating. And from black seed oil's side, thymoquinone has been shown in multiple studies to improve insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells actually respond to insulin again, instead of starting to ignore it the way they do in early metabolic dysfunction. One plant slows glucose entry, the other improves the cell's response to it. Those are two completely different mechanisms working on the same problem. But here's the thing about number 12. This is where it stops being interesting and starts being genuinely important. Same 2025 meta-analysis. Moringa supplementation produced significant reductions in LDL cholesterol and total cholesterol across multiple trials. The Moringa seed oil contains oleic acid, the same heart-healthy fat found in olive oil, plus over 30 natural antioxidants, including a flavonoid called comferol that supports cellular metabolic function. Black seed oil carries a compound called beta-sitosterol. It's a plant sterol that physically reduces how much cholesterol your intestinal wall absorbs from food. It literally competes with cholesterol at the absorption site. And on blood pressure, Moringa's natural glycosides have a mild but documented antihypertensive effect. Black seed oil has produced consistent, modest reductions in systolic blood pressure in multiple human studies. I want to say something clearly right here. If your doctor has prescribed blood pressure medication, this is not a replacement. What this is for people who are borderline, who are trying to support their cardiovascular health before medication becomes necessary. The evidence is real. Most people don't know their liver is struggling until something shows up in a blood test. By that point, the problem has usually been building quietly for years. A 2022 study published in Frontiers in Nutrition found that Moringa improved liver enzyme markers and specifically reduced fat accumulation in liver cells. The compounds responsible activate something called PPAR-alpha, a receptor in your liver cells that literally signals them to start metabolizing stored fat instead of accumulating more. Thymoquinone from black seed oil has documented hepatoprotective effects, reducing TNF-alpha and oxidative stress specifically in liver tissue. Here's something worth thinking about. Your liver processes everything: hormones, medications, metabolic waste, everything you eat and drink. When it's running at half speed, It doesn't just affect liver health, it affects your energy, your sleep, your hormone balance, and your digestion. A liver that's been quietly supported is one of the reasons some people who start using this combination report improvements they weren't even targeting. And that's actually a perfect lead-in to number 10. After 60, your thymus, the organ that trains and produces immune cells, has largely retired. White blood cell production naturally slows. The immune response isn't as fast or as strong. You catch things more easily. You recover more slowly. A randomized placebo-controlled study found that black seed oil supplementation produced significant improvements in hematological and immunological blood markers, meaning the blood work actually changed in measurable ways that reflected a more active, more responsive immune system. Moringa brings vitamin C levels comparable to citrus, zinc, iron, and a broad-spectrum antioxidant profile. But the most important thing it does here is reduce the chronic low-grade inflammation that silently suppresses immune function. When your body is always managing background inflammation, it has less capacity for actual immune response. Lower the background noise and the immune system can focus on its actual job, not the tiredness that goes away after a good night, the kind that's just there, woven into the day, the kind where doing things you used to do without thinking now requires actual planning. Moringa is one of the most concentrated plant sources of B vitamins, B1, B2, B3, the vitamins your cells use to convert food into usable energy at the mitochondrial level. A 2024 study found Moringa supplementation improved physical performance outcomes in adults, and Moringa's iron content is significant. Chronic low iron is one of the most underdiagnosed causes of persistent fatigue, especially in older women, and it often doesn't show up as dramatic anemia, just this quiet, constant drain. Black seed oil reduces the systemic inflammation that burns through your energy budget. Your body spends enormous resources managing low-level chronic inflammation. Reduce it, and you get some of that energy back. Okay, before we go further, and I mean this genuinely, I want to say something. Everything I'm sharing is built on real published research, and I want you to be able to take this information to your doctor and have an actual conversation about it. But I also want to be honest with you. If you're on blood pressure medication, diabetes medication, or blood thinners, both Moringa and black seed oil can interact with those. Not dangerously in most cases, but enough that your doctor should know what you're doing. Think of these not as replacements for anything. Think of them as teammates. You bring them alongside your medical care, not instead of it. Alright, back to the countdown. This one doesn't get enough attention in the natural health conversation. A study published in Pharmacological Research found that Moringa leaf extract helped regulate thyroid hormone status in adult subjects. The isothiocyanates in Moringa have a modulatory effect on thyroid metabolism. Why does this matter after 60? Because thyroid function quietly slows in many older adults, contributing to weight gain, fatigue, cold sensitivity, hair thinning, and mental fog. Many people are borderline hypothyroid without a diagnosis. Their lab values are technically in range, but they feel the symptoms every day. Black seed oil's contribution here is indirect but powerful. By reducing the systemic oxidative stress and inflammation that burdens the endocrine system, it removes some of the load on the thyroid. An overloaded body forces the thyroid to compensate in ways it wasn't designed to sustain. Number 7. A lot of people think about this every morning in the mirror, and most of them think there's nothing they can do. A clinical study conducted in Rome found that 70% of participants who used a scalp treatment containing black seed oil saw measurable improvements in hair density and thickness after 3 months. 70%. The mechanism is the same one we've been talking about. Thymoquinone reduces scalp inflammation, and inflamed follicles don't produce healthy hair. They can't. The blood supply is compromised. The cellular environment is hostile. Calm the inflammation, and you restore the conditions for the follicle to do what it was designed to do. Moringa from the nutritional side. It's one of the richest plant sources of the exact nutrients hair follicles need to function. Iron, zinc, amino acids, vitamin A. Think of Moringa as the fertilizer, and black seed oil as clearing the soil so the fertilizer can actually work. A clinical trial published in 2023 tested black seed oil on human facial skin. One side of the face treated, one side placebo, 28 days. The results were specific and statistically significant. 11.2% improvement in skin firmness, 6.8% increase in elasticity, 22.2% increase in skin hydration. 28 days, Moringa seed oil in a cell biology study increased lipid production in human sebaceous cells, the cells responsible for natural skin moisture, and generated an anti-inflammatory profile in those cells. It's not coating the surface of your skin, it's changing the cellular environment underneath it. After 60, your metabolism doesn't just slow down, It fundamentally changes how it processes fat. Two receptors in your liver and fat cells called PPR-alpha and PPR-gamma regulate fat metabolism. With age and inflammation, they become less responsive. Moringa has been shown to upregulate exactly those receptors. The 2025 meta-analysis found Moringa supplementation affected body composition parameters in clinical trials. Black seed oil improves insulin sensitivity, which means your body stops reflexively storing calories as fat and starts actually using them for energy. These are not dramatic effects. Nobody is going to lose 40 pounds from two oils, but the underlying metabolic resistance that makes maintaining a healthy weight so frustrating after 60, that can shift. Now we're getting to the territory that genuinely surprised me. These last four are the ones that people feel most deeply. Here's what research published in Frontiers in Nutrition in 2022 actually found. Moringa oil, specifically the oil, improved short-term and recognition memory in subjects with induced cognitive impairment. The mechanism: it restored the acetylcholine system in the hippocampus. Now, acetylcholine, that word matters here, because the acetylcholine system in the brain is the same one that begins to deteriorate in Alzheimer's disease. Moringa doesn't cure Alzheimer's, I need to be clear about that, but supporting the acetylcholine system while it's still functioning, before significant deterioration, that is a completely different and legitimate conversation. A 2024 study found that Moringa oil specifically protected against cognitive decline caused by a high-fat, high-sugar diet. That's relevant to most of the modern world. Black seed oil adds a separate neuroprotective layer, antioxidant protection of neuronal membranes, and reduction of neuroinflammation, the brain inflammation that quietly accelerates cognitive aging without announcing itself. And number 3 is keeping millions of people awake right now, at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling. Your nervous system has a built-in calming mechanism, a neurotransmitter called GABA. If you think of your nervous system as an engine, GABA is the brake pedal. When it's working well, you can wind down. When it's not, you can't turn off, even when you want to. Thymoquinone has been shown to modulate GABA receptors, not in a pharmaceutical way, more like restoring the sensitivity of a brake pedal that's gone a little soft. A 90-day study documented significant reductions in stress markers and meaningful improvements in emotional well-being in the black seed oil group. Those were measured outcomes, not subjective reports. Moringa's adaptogenic properties, its ability to help the body regulate its stress response, have been used in traditional medicine systems across 3 continents, and are now being examined in formal research. The combination of the two is where it gets interesting. One plant is working on the nervous system directly, the other is reducing the systemic inflammation that keeps the nervous system permanently activated. You need both. This connects directly to number 3, because the nervous system that can't stop running during the day is the same one that can't stop running at 2 in the morning. Black seed oil has been studied using direct hormone measurement, not just subjective sleep scores. The study measured cortisol and melatonin levels before and after supplementation. The black seed oil group showed measurable reductions in cortisol and measurable increases in melatonin. Those are the 2 hormones that determine your sleep architecture. Less of the wake hormone, more of the sleep hormone. Moringa brings one more layer. It's high in magnesium. Magnesium is involved in over 300 biochemical processes in the body, including muscle relaxation and nervous system regulation. And most older adults are chronically low in magnesium without realizing it. It's one of the most commonly deficient minerals and one of the least commonly addressed. Applied topically before bed, on the chest, the temples, the soles of the feet, both oils absorb through skin during the body's highest absorption window. You're not just taking them internally, you're timing the delivery to when your body is most ready to receive it. And now we're at number 1, and this one explains every single thing on this list. I've been building to this the entire video, because here's the truth that doesn't fit in a 15-minute doctor's appointment. Every problem on this list, hemorrhoids, joint pain, kidney stress, gum disease, swollen veins, blood sugar dysregulation, high cholesterol, fatty liver, immune decline, fatigue, thyroid sluggishness, hair loss, skin aging, slow metabolism, brain fog, anxiety, insomnia, every single one is either caused by or significantly amplified by one underlying condition: chronic low-grade inflammation. Not the inflammation you feel when you sprain an ankle, not a fever. This is quiet, persistent, systemic. It operates at the cellular level without pain, without obvious symptoms, and it doesn't show up on a standard blood panel unless your doctor specifically orders a CRP test or checks inflammatory cytokines, which most don't do routinely. And here's what makes the combination of moringa and black seed oil genuinely remarkable. Both plants contain compounds that suppress the same key inflammatory molecules, TNF-alpha, Illinois-6, and CO-COX-2, the central drivers of systemic chronic inflammation, but they do it through different biochemical mechanisms. Moringa's isothiocyanates and flavonoids take one pathway. Thymoquinone takes a completely different one. When you combine them, you're blocking the same fire from two directions simultaneously. That's not something most supplements do. That's not something most medications do either, because most medications target symptoms, not the underlying cellular environment creating them. That's the root that the woman I told you about at the beginning had never been told about, and when she started addressing it, consistently, patiently, over weeks, the knee pain started softening, the swelling started going down, she slept better, the fog lifted a little. Not magic, not a miracle, biology responding when you give it what it actually needs. Simple, no special equipment, no complicated preparation. Take half a teaspoon of cold-pressed black seed oil, mix it with 1 teaspoon of moringa oil, or if you're using moringa powder, blend a teaspoon into warm water or raw honey, and add the black seed oil to that. For internal use, take it in the morning on an empty stomach. Your gut absorbs these compounds most efficiently before food. For topical use, joints, scalp, skin, legs, mix equal parts of both oils. Apply directly to the area. At night is ideal because that's when your skin's absorption is highest. Now, the most important thing I can tell you about buying these. For black seed oil, the label must say cold pressed. Heat extraction destroys thymoquinone, the active compound doing the work. You end up with an oil that smells right and does approximately nothing. Look for thymoquinone content listed on the label. Between 1 and 3% is what you want. If that number isn't there, that's a signal. For Moringa, organic whenever possible. Moringa concentrates what's in the soil it grows in. You don't want a concentrated pesticide supplement. Give the combination 4 weeks of daily consistency before you evaluate. The compounds need to build up in your system. Pay attention to the small things first. If you don't have these oils yet, I've linked my trusted sources in the first pinned comment below. Sleep quality, morning stiffness, energy in the afternoon. Those shift before the bigger changes become obvious. 18 problems, 1 root, 2 plants. Your body is not falling apart, it's inflamed. And inflammation is something you can actually address. Not with a prescription, not with expensive supplements you can't pronounce, but with 2 plants that have been used medicinally for thousands of years, and that modern research is now explaining in biochemical detail. The woman I told you about at the beginning of this video, she still sees her doctor, she still follows her medical care. She just also, every morning, takes a small amount of this combination. And things are different. Not perfect, but genuinely, measurably different. If someone in your life is dealing with any of the problems on this list, and after 60, most people are dealing with several, share this with them. They deserve to know this combination exists, and what the research actually says about it. Your body is not done. It just needs the right support.